Welcome back, folks. My name is Michael Hoff, part of the Face Off Sports Network. And right now, I'm going to give you three quarterbacks to start, three to sit for week 5 of the fantasy football season. Let's jump right into it. If I'm giving you a quarterback to start, let's go with Mr. Brock Purdy of the San Francisco 49ers. He's waving hi to his mom. He finished as a QB 14 last week. He's a QB 11 on the season. He's playing the Cardinals, who have allowed the fourth most points to the quarterback position. Now, if you want to go back in time a little bit, not too far time to go back, of course, because Brock Purdy is still a young player. In his last 3 matchups against the Arizona Cardinals, Brock Purdy has thrown for 8 touchdowns and 0 interceptions. The Cardinals are also one of 10 teams allowing more than 20 points on more than one occasion this season to the quarterback position. So for me, Brock Purdy seems like, again, it's a lot like last season, where he's not talked about a ton in fantasy football circles. A lot of people want to go to the juicer names, and I get it. But if you're dealing with players who are not consistent, some big name players who we're going to get to at least 2 of those with our sits, that keeps you wanting to stay tuned. Brock Purdy is a quarterback to start. He's going to help you out, especially against this Arizona Cardinal defense. We talked about it all offseason. The Cardinals defense is not a good defense, especially in the secondary. So look for Brock Purdy to take advantage of that. If you're someone who's worried about George Kittle because he popped up on the injury report, it was rib related. It's not related to the hamstring injury, which kept him out the previous week. Kittle will be fine. Debo will be there. Jawan Jennings will be there. Ayuk will eventually wake the hell up. And Brock Purdy will be a top 12 quarterback in week 5. If I could pick a quarterback who's going to be outside the top 12, he's not used to being outside the top 12, maybe up until the season. Dak Prescott of the Dallas Cowboys is a sit for me. He did finish as a QB 12 last week against a defense that was allowing the 13th fewest points to the position. Things are going to change. He's going up against a defense on the road that is allowing the 4th fewest points to the quarterback position, that being the Pittsburgh Steelers. Here's the deal. I mentioned it with Ayuk eventually waking up, the whole that, yada, 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 missed training camp. We're all sick of hearing it. So am I. But it does seem to be something that bleeds into the season. So maybe we should believe in it. I mean, Dak Prescott's too good to struggle like this. How much a CD Lamb being out for just about all of training camp, not signing till, the last minute, how much did that hurt this Cowboys offense? You have Brandon Cooks out now. And I know you're saying Brandon Cooks isn't a big piece, Mike. No, he's not a big piece, but he's still a part of the offense. He's still an adjustment that needs to be made. And when you have another adjustment that needs to be made, and CD Lamb is not up to pace yet, and then you're going up against the Steelers on the road. And again, like I said, Steelers are allowing the 4th fewest points to the quarterback position. I don't love this matchup. I don't like it at all. So I think we're going to see another struggling week from Dak. I think better days, yes, are clearly, obviously, hopefully coming soon. Until now, I like him as a sit in week 5. I'll tell you something you could start, though. This one might seem obvious, but I'm throwing him out there because he came off of an injury and gave us a stellar performance. Finishes the QB2 on the week in week 4, that being Jordan Love of the Green Bay Packers going up against the Rams. Listen, we all feared the worst after week 1 in Brazil. We said, geez, man, when's Jordan Love coming back? How much Malik Willis do we have to watch? Then we were surprised to even see that Jordan Love was practicing. Then he was damn near close to playing in week 4. Didn't play in week 4 against the Titans, but came back in week 5 and absolutely was phenomenal. Again, like I said, QB2 on the week, scoring over 30 points. He is now going up against a Rams defense. The Rams defense is going through some injuries, but what's also important is the Rams offense is going through some injuries. And why does that matter to Jordan Love when Jordan Love's quarterback? Well, if the Rams offense has enough injuries and if they can't stay on the field, well, guess what that means? The defense has to be on the field longer. Defense gets gassed. Defense gets gashed. They'll get gashed by Jordan Love and the Green Bay Packers. Christian Watson's probably not going to play. I don't think that matters. You'll have Jaden Reed. You'll have Dontavian Wicks. So I am all over this matchup with Mr. Jordan Love. I think Jordan Love, a lot like Brock Purdy, top 5 quarterback this week. That's what I'm going with. Yeah, should I be that confident in the guys I picked to start? Damn right. That's why I picked them. So let's go to one that I had trouble picking. It's a tough conversation. Before we have that tough conversation, let me smooth you in. Feel free to hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell icon to be notified every single time that we go live because we do a ton of live content. But all right, if you thought that it was bad that I asked you to subscribe, it's going to get worse with the quarterback that I'm asking you to sit this week in week 5. Yeah, it's time. It's time to sit Pat Mahomes. It's time to look at a matchup and say, I don't know if I like Pat Mahomes this week. I mean, think about this. Honestly, Pat Mahomes wasn't playing great to begin with. And now he just lost his wide receiver, Rashee Rice, who was targeted 26% of the time. It's not great. Not great, Bob. He's going up against a Saints defense that is one of the better defenses for fantasy against the quarterback position. He's going up against the Saints defense, allowing the 6th fewest points to the position and have yet to allow 20 or more points to the quarterback position in a given week. That's not great. Pat Mahomes finished as a QB, a top 12 QB in week 1. Since then, he's been no better than 15th. 15th. You're trotting out a guy on name value who has been no better than the QB 15. Now, listen, realistically speaking, NFL speaking, yes, I know. Are the Chiefs going to find a way to turn this around? Yeah, probably. And will they be holding up the Lombardi trophy at the end of the year? Probably. And will they talk about how, well, they disrespected us? Damn right they will, because they get off on that. But I think it's justified, at least in week 5 of this season, in terms of fantasy football. I think ultimately it'll get rekindled, that connection of Pat Mahomes and Travis Kelce, and we'll see some great and beautiful things from the two of them. But for now, in week 5 against the Saints, I'm not buying into Pat Mahomes. It's time to have that tough conversation. I've seen some in the industry do it, and I've seen some in the industry stay away from it because it's understandably a tough conversation to have. You're literally going to a fan and saying, it's time to sit the guy who's supposedly the best quarterback. Not even supposedly, he is the best quarterback in the league. But right now, he's not playing like it, especially in terms of fantasy. All right, let's give you some good news, okay? A little rub of the shoulders, give you some good news. Let me give you a start here. Geno Smith going up against the New York Football Giants. Quietly, Geno Smith is the QB 8 in fantasy football formats. He's one of 7 quarterbacks with multiple games with 20-plus points scored. In a losing effort, he had a great week last week on Monday Night Football against the Detroit Lions, who supposedly have a good defense. Now you're going to have here, with the Seahawks having the 3rd highest passing play percentage in the league, they're going to go up against the New York Football Giants, who, listen, they haven't been terrible against quarterbacks. Not at all. Giants defense hasn't been awful. But the one thing about the Giants defense is that they are giving up the 2nd highest completion percentage of quarterbacks of 72.33%. You mix that with an offense behind Grubb as the offensive coordinator that's throwing the ball early and often. I think this is an opportunity for Geno Smith. Now, I know I mentioned the first 2 QBs that I said to start, that being Brock Purdy, that being Jordan Love. I said they'd be top 5 quarterbacks. Geno Smith won't be top 5, but he'll damn well will be top 12 quarterback. This is the game going on the later end of the Sunday slate, again against the New York Giants. This is in Seattle. Geno Smith, he's had he's had multiple weeks with 20-plus points scored. I'll get my words out. I think he does it again. And I think it's more so a product of, listen, a lot of these matchups I'm talking about, a lot of them I'm saying do this, do that. Some of it's based on what we've seen from the quarterback, what we've seen from the opposing defense. Sometimes it's a bit of both. Here, it's really strictly, I just think that Geno Smith is playing so well in this offense. And I think it's getting overlooked in a lot of NFL fantasy football circles, at least from the average fan. So I'm telling you, Geno Smith, while we have these tough conversations about quarterbacks to sit, if you say, well, who do I start instead of Dak Prescott? Who do I start instead of Pat Mahomes? Yeah, I'm saying Geno Smith. And maybe that takes balls, but guess what? I'm doing it. I'm doing it. I'm doing it myself in my own leagues. I wouldn't recommend it to you if I wasn't doing it myself. So we're going to get into our last option here, and we're going to go with a sit for week 5. I will just say, I hope you guys like the show. Feel free to like, feel free to subscribe, and also check out the rest of our content from week 5 coming from other people besides myself. We're giving you running backs, wide receivers, tight ends. We've got defenses, kickers coming soon. We got it all for you. Let's get into our last option. This one is not as juicy as my other 2 sits, but Andy Dalton going up against the Bears. And listen, some people might laugh at this, but if you've watched me on the FF Face Off, you've heard me talk wonderfully about Andy Dalton. I talked him up so much going into last week. I even made some pizza bets with the guys saying that Andy Dalton would be one of the better quarterbacks on the week. I don't think that happens this week. I have my limits, though. I have my limits to my madness. And the Chicago Bears, for me, I think it's damn near time that we give these guys their flowers. I mean, if you look at this here, the Bears are the only defense to allow less than 10 fantasy points to the quarterback position in 3 games this season. Think about that. We're heading into week 5. They've had 3 weeks in which they've allowed less than 10 points to quarterbacks. It's pretty damn good. It's pretty damn good. You know, Andy Dalton in the last 2 weeks, he's averaged more than 20 points per game. Good for him. Love him. Hope he's happy. But I think this is one of those matchups. And now listen, eventually Andy Dalton is going to come crashing down to earth. And while this might feel like he's going to crash down to earth, I feel like better weeks will be ahead for Andy Dalton. I don't think Bryce Young will grab the starting job back based on whatever happens in week 5 against the Chicago Bears, barring an injury, of course. But I do think that while Andy Dalton's got some life left in that red rifle arm of his, it's not going to happen against the Chicago Bears. And, not to mention this game's going to be in Chicago. I'm not starting Andy Dalton this week. If you're in a deep league where you got to start your quarterbacks, you're in a 14-team league or something to that extent, where maybe Andy Dalton was an option for you for the previous weeks, for weeks 3, weeks 4, he's not that option going into week 5. So there you go. So my start options for the week: Brock Purdy of the 49ers, Jordan Love of the Green Bay Packers, Geno Smith of the Seattle Seahawks. My sits are going to be Dak Prescott of the Dallas Cowboys. Yep, Pat Mahomes of the Kansas City Chiefs. It is what it is. We got to have the real conversations, folks. And last but not least, Mr. Andy Dalton. But again, I appreciate you guys watching. Hope you had a wonderful time. We'll catch you guys on the flip side. Cheers.